Welcome back to Sunrise. Now we're switching gears to an important conversation. So this year marks the 10th staging of the Jamaica AIDS Support for Life event to end violence against women and girls. So starting on November 25, they will gather for a march, a stand of silence, and a powerful chance to send a strong message: we won't stand for violence against women. Joining us today are Policy and Advocacy Officer Patrick Layla and Legal Officer Latoya Thomas from the Jamaica AIDS Support for Life to talk about the critical work being done to protect survivors and to stop the spread of violence. Good morning, lady and gent.
Good
so
morning.
good to have
very,
you with
very
us.
good morning. It's a very important work, important initiative, of course. And it's the 10th staging, which means you know it's important, so you continue. Why?
So let me give you the history. So it is a UN Women initiative, and it's a global one, as a matter of fact. So we at JASL realize that this is a part of our mandate. Of course, we deal with, clientele is HIV, AIDS, or person living with HIV. And we found that there was a strong correlation between HIV vulnerability, person living with HIV, and gender-based violence. Because what happens is that this type of relationship involves the powerful or the deemed powerful aggressor and the powerless, which is the survivor, because they're not victims because they're still alive.
Right.
And there are no bargaining power in that relationship. So there is a matter of inequity.
Right.
So what end up happening is that it allows now for the person living with HIV to have even an unhealthier life outcome. And so we want to basically, we deal in this. We want to basically allow them to be not just healthier, but have better life outcomes and so on. And the correlation really is that HIV vulnerability increases in these types of gender-based violence relationship. And this covers a whole lot of stuff: domestic violence, sexual harassment, exploitation of our women and girls. So IDVA, which is celebrated on November 25th every year internationally, have been adapted to our local landscape, and especially by JASL, that is Jamaica AIDS Support for Life. And our mandate is to fight the fight, to be the voice for the voiceless, to advocate for them in so many ways. And I'm going to let Patrick take it over and give you some more explanation.
I was going to ask Patrick, actually, let's talk a bit about the theme this year, the Unite to End Violence Against Women and Girls. Based on the current challenges that we're facing, and based on, as Latoya just mentioned, the global desire to reach or attain a particular thing, why is it that this is the main focus in this year's walk and movement?
The theme Unite has been, there have been different branches of Unite that the UN has used for the last 3 or 4 years, and we go along with the international theme, because the reality is we need all facets of the society to come together. We have to unite to end this scourge. It requires persons who are affected, perpetrators, policymakers, because there's a whole legislative landscape that needs to be beefed up for us to be able to better respond to this. Police officers who enforce the law. We have seen the JCF has opened domestic violence intervention centers that has become more active within the last 5 years or so. So the Unite theme is with the understanding that this is something that we have to take a multifaceted approach to, and it requires many different stakeholders, from the persons who are experiencing violence to the neighbor who is saying, we know him beat her every day, but it's not my business. Man and woman story. I'm hearing it and I know it's happening, but I'm not getting involved.
Let me ask you, as the Policy and Advocacy Officer, you mentioned a bit about policy just now. Let's talk a bit about these laws, and let's talk a bit about how legally, you mentioned the beefing up of a lot of these laws, but legally, what can be done, what can't be done, and what adjustments could actually be made to see a reflective, real change in how we manage these incidents?
Okay, so in my role as Policy and Advocacy Officer, I do a lot of legislative advocacy. So this may include making submissions to Parliament about what we'd like to see changing in the legislation. One of the things that we've been talking about for the 10 years of this event is, for example, there's a provision under the Domestic Violence Act where a protection order can be issued, which is really what we call a restraining order. That is not in our law. It's called a protection order. And basically what it does is prevents the perpetrator from in any way harassing, communicating with, being in the same space with the survivor. But for the past 10 years, we've been harping that the fine for the breach of this order was a measly 10,000 Jamaican dollars. And we have seen where perpetrators just tear up the order and say, I can pay that. Just this year, in 2024, we have been successful in having the Minister of Gender announce that the fine has been up to $1 million. So that is one example of something that we've been asking for 10 years, and it just happened this year. But that's a small piece of the Domestic Violence Act. There are a lot of other pieces. For example, our laws have not caught up with the different forms that violence take. So if there's no external evidence of abuse, if there's not the chop, the stab wound, the swelling, the bruises, it's almost like who walks into the police station and say, oh, I'm being emotionally abused. I'm experiencing psychological abuse, financial abuse. There is no provision in law for that. So we are looking for, one, the definition to be widened in the legislation so that other forms can be properly captured under the legislation.
Awesome. You know, I want to swing to the JASL's work. JASL's work to end violence against women. Is there a connection with this work to end violence against women and the control of the spread of HIV?
Yes, there is. JASL takes an integrated, holistic approach. We don't just look at treatment, which is one of our things, counseling, because we have psycho-support services, prevention strategy like condom demonstration, and so on. We have also even spread it a little bit further to actually provide legal aid and a lawyer at your fingertips, because we realize that the approach, or the unite under the theme, is that we need to galvanize resources, galvanize people, galvanize in such a way where we look at it from an integrated approach. So the work of JASL is extensive. So if a survivor comes in, we sit them down, we take the matters into hand. We say, speak to the lawyer, speak to the in-house psychologist, speak to treatment, because since you have no bargaining power and you can't determine or negotiate your sexual practices, get some condoms and so forth, get tested. If you are a person living with HIV, we allow you to basically stay on treatment, stay in care, become healthier. So this is a part of what we do at JASL, and the work continues. IDVA, for example, in itself, as what Patrick has shared, legislative advocacy. So we're advocating for laws, we're writing submissions, we're writing very strong letters, and so on. We are calling to action everybody. We're on radio, TV, saying that this is an ongoing, prevalent phenomenon that is happening internationally, locally, and otherwise, and we need to do something about it. So JASL's work is just far and wide and extensive.
What I want to add to that also is that the data shows we have seen people who become HIV positive as a result of sexual violence. And that is why that is the strong connection between our work. And there's also, so if we can reduce gender-based violence, we can reduce new infections. We have also seen people who are positive, who are unable to get their treatment because they are in an abusive, controlling situation. You can't leave the house to go to clinic to get your medication.
Because you're not allowed.
Because one, the abuser doesn't even know that you are HIV positive. Where you go and tell the abuser you're leaving the house to go. To go to doctor for what? So it not only causes people to become positive, but it prevents those who are positive from achieving optimum health.
Very quickly, just before we have to go, ordinary Jamaicans are watching this and they're saying, this is something that I would like to participate in. This is an area that I would like to give back and support. How can they do that?
So it's Monday, November 25th. We gather at Police Officers Club at 1 p.m. We march off at 2 p.m. If you come early enough, you can get one of these shirts, which everybody, but we invite, the budget is small this year. I want to appeal to corporate Jamaica to support this event each year. So if you come early, you may get one. Otherwise, just come in something purple, just in case they run out on you. But we'll be gathering at Police Officers Club. We march off at 2 p.m. We march to the Transport Center in Arthurtree, where we'll have an outside broadcast. We'll have survivors sharing, and we'll have policymakers with us. Members of Parliament will be with us. Miss Jamaica World will be with us, and we have quite a few people supporting the event on Monday.
Excellent.
Awesome. We've come a long way, and I may say, without empirical data, the stigma has fallen significantly.
It has fallen significantly, but it is still a bit too strong.
Yes,
It is.
All right. Many thanks to Patrick Layla and Latoya Thomas for joining us this morning. It's time for another break, but there's so much more in store when we return. So,
What are they gonna do?
stick and stay.
Imade?
Stick and stay, man.
Hey.